guys. So last night I got to watch the Two Towers, of course, which is of course the second Lord of the Rings movie. And oh my lanta, it's so good. So my friend that I was watching with, he said he's kind of unique and that it's actually his favorite of the trilogy, which I think is so good. I don't know. I won't know until I see the third one. I haven't seen the third one yet, but it is so good. I can't even with how good it is. Yeah, let's talk about it. There's a lot to get into, but I just need to preface this. If this is going to be spoilers. Of course, you might be in the camp I was in. You think you might watch it someday, but you just haven't gotten around to it. Then, yeah, you don't want to if you don't want to get some of the plot given away. But if you've seen it and you just want to hear what I think about it, then you're good. Alright, so let's talk about Gollum, or Smeagol. I don't know which to call him. I always thought, because I've only read The Hobbit, that he was a villain. So it's really interesting to see this story, like, how he's, for one thing, he's demon possessed. Actually, you see in The Hobbit how he like talks to himself and whatever, but you find out that he's basically demon possessed and he's like talking to his demon. And I love how like Frodo sees that Gollum is what he could become. I think that's what he sees. That's what it is to me. And he sees that just whatever, how he sees that Gollum is what he could become. And really, Gollum is a tragic character, and I loved how he, when Gollum is having like, I don't remember the whole situation, but he's just like, whatever, doing something crazy, and Frodo says, Smeagol, wasn't that your name? And he recognizes it, says, and starts it. And then he's having this conversation like with himself and then with Smeagol. And like Gollum is. And it was so interesting, like how Frodo calls out like what he was, what he could be, and said, this isn't who you are. Oh, it was so good. It was really moving. It was wonderful. I also loved like talking about like the relationship between Smeagol and Frodo, and Sam too. Like Sam is being really mean and calling him names and all that kind of stuff. And Frodo says, why are you doing that? It's just so cool because it can be really easy. Like, we can do that so often, like just to write someone off. I don't like them. They're not nice. They're not cool. They're jerks. They're mean. They're lame. They're stupid. Whatever. And we need those people in our lives because, sometimes maybe we're the ones who get written off to and say, no. Either slap you on the side of the head and say, that's not a nice way to treat people, or whatever. We need those people in our lives. And it was just so cool, whether we're the one being a jerk about the person being a jerk, whether we're the ones that are just being written off by people. It's so cool. It was so cool to see, and I love that. Also, let's talk about while we're on the subject of demon possession, let's talk about the king. I don't even know his name. The blonde king. You know what I'm talking about. And whose son has been killed, and he is just out of it. And you think he's like this senile old man because his eyes are all like clouded over. And Gandalf comes in. Oh, first of all, like they're commanded to lay down their weapons before they come in, and he's like, and he won't give up his staff because he's like, well, you would deny an old man his walking stick. And he's there like, fine, whatever, go ahead. And he goes in and sets this guy free. And, well, he goes in like, no, excuse me, he walks in, and the guy who's like been working for Saruman and is holding this guy captive, he's instantly like starts to freak out. And it's so cool to see just his reaction. Like, no, not the staff, not the staff. And I just get this picture, like, if Christians are on fire for Jesus like we're supposed to be, they'd be like, the devil should be, no, not the sword, you know, whatever. That should be the reaction. And Gandalf is very much. I didn't recognize it instantly, which is kind of weird. I think it's just because he doesn't have the traits that like Aslan has compared to Jesus, but he's very much like, but Gandalf is very much like the Christ figure. And oh, sorry, I should back up. Also, that whole Gandalf where he goes in and battles, that was just fantastic to see him like basically going to hell to defeat it, and then he becomes Gandalf the White. And so that was awesome to see. And then skipping forward, going back to the scene where, you know, he sets this king free and how they're like, you're just Gandalf the Grey. And they're not entirely intimidated. And then he yanks his robe off and we see who he really is. And it's just like, oh wow. I was just like, wow, that's so cool. And for me, it's like, that's what we as Christians should be doing. We should be saying, no, you have no power here. Leave him, leave him, leave him. I set you free. And one of the greatest lines I think was, I don't know. I know I'll hear greater lines in the trilogy, but I think this is going to be one of my top quotes. Where he says, I draw you, Saruman, as poison from a wound. And I just, like, it's like a goosebumps thing because it's like, because you think, that's what we should do. We should be saying, I draw you, Satan, as poison from a wound. We should be casting Satan, casting the demons out of our lives. Yeah, it was just fantastic. And then after he's healed, you see how different he looks. Like he looks completely different. Like his face changes and his eyes are clear. It was just so cool to see that, because that is just like the transformation and how that wasn't who he was. And then also him casting the dark guy out. I don't even know what his name. I don't remember his name. There's so many characters. It's hard to keep them all straight. It was so cool. It was goosebumps. Like, again, goosebumps all the time. And my friend I was watching with was like, that's one of his favorite scenes in the whole trilogy. Now, while we're on the subject of like casting demons, let's go back to Gollum for a second. That whole scene where he's saying, go away and never return to like his demon inner self. And he changes. Temporarily, he's completely different. He's happier. He's still, you know, looking. But seriously, I think this is kind of a lesson to me. Like, not necessarily the movie is trying to think of the movie is trying to teach. Like, don't judge by their appearance, because I was convinced that Gollum was this bad guy, that he was the villain. No, he's a sympathetic, tragic individual. And then, yeah, let's just talk about Sam again. I will never not talk about Sam. He is amazing. I love his loyalty to Frodo. I know I read somewhere that Tolkien considered, this is what happens when you stay up really late to watch a movie. So watch the movie and then you have to drive home from your friend's house. But let's talk about, Tolkien considered Sam to be the true hero of the Lord of the Rings, and I would totally agree with that. He is fantastic. He is my hero in the book for sure, in the movies. And he's also played by the amazing Sean Astin. But if we're going to talk about casting again, we need to talk about casting again. Oh, wow. Diogo Martins, Aragorn. So we were watching the movie last night. So it's me, the guy who's in the videos with my videos, and his wife, who's one of my best friends. And we're sitting around and we're watching the movie. And you know, there's stretches where they don't have dialogue. It's just like music. So we would like comment or something. We were commenting to the movie to each other. And Aragorn is riding up the hill or something, and his hair is flowing, and he's It's got this great costume on. And I said, and Seth said, he's got to be one of the coolest movie characters ever. And I say, yep. And he's been blessed with good genes. Because he's pretty. He's very pretty. Yeah, whatever. I mean, and then, but yeah, I remember last one, I think Aragorn just kind of took center stage, so you didn't really notice the elf as much, but most like, okay, I can't handle all the cuteness, all the handsomeness of these guys right now. Between Sean, Aston, and Elijah Wood, and the guys who play the elves. The elf and the, and Aragorn. I can't keep all the names straight. So then, yeah, and then Gimli. I like Gimli. Gimli's great. I'm kind of curious. I feel like he's kind of like he plays a role, but a lot of what he does seems like it's humorous, which is great. This movie needs a comic relief. But yeah, he's so funny. He is hysterically. Has some great lines. I know the part where they're running across the field. Well, that's when they're chasing the guys who have Merry and Pippin. I was just cracking up. He's running across the field, and he's like, "Dwarves are great at sprints, but I'm worn out on cross country," or something like that. I think I'm mixing up. "I'm worn out on cross country. Dwarves are built for sprinting." And then he's like saying to himself, "Keep breathing. That's the key." And I'm just cracking up because I'm like, that would be me with like most of my friends, because most of my friends are more athletic than me, and they'd be like, my childhood friends, they'd be like running and sprinting and being super fast, and I'm just here back here. I'm just the big fat dwarf going, anyway, I was cracking up. Hashtag relatable. Relatable humor is great. Is the best humor. Is some of the best humor. But he's sarcastic too, which is great. And it was amazing. I am totally a Tolkien fan now. Oh, and we can't forget Pippin and Merry. Pippin and Merry are great. They're always great. They actually, like last time, they were more played for humor, I felt like, than anything else. They were just amazing in this one. Like, had some serious stuff, and just some of the stuff that they said, and their courage and tenacity. Like, these teeny little guys have so much courage, and it's great. And I guess I haven't really talked specifically about Frodo and Sam as much. I want to go back to them. I forgot something I want to say. Yeah. Frodo is it's so cool to see like how he's being haunted and he's standing strong against like his demons, and but to see him and Sam, that's fantastic. I know, I want a plaque. There's a plaque that is around, say, either be the Sam or we all need our Samwise Gamgee, because we do. Like that friend who never stops believing in us, who never leaves us alone, who's there for us, who is like when we can't stand by ourselves, he's there. And I've heard there's some really good lines about that coming in the third one. Actually, I think I don't know. I just know a couple of the lines. I haven't seen it at all, but the second one. But this one, seeing him when he there's many times like where I was like, Sam, I will not ask you to go with me, Sam, into Mordor, and he says, I know, but I will. And when he sees Sam, sorry, and then when what is it? And then when Frodo is ready to hold out the ring to the ring wraith on the dragon, and Sam comes and like knocks him out of the way, and he is just and like holds him down, and they have that whole like, don't you know you're Sam? It's so moving. Hold on, I actually want to read this quote because I want to get it right. So yeah, I loved that whole speech. I'm actually just gonna read it because I do not want to butcher this quote scene. It's too good. So like Frodo says, "I can't do this, Sam," and Sam says, "I know it's all wrong. By rights, we shouldn't even be here, but we are. It's in the great stories, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were, and sometimes you didn't want to know the end, because how could the end ever be happy? Now could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad is? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing, this shadow. Even darkness must pass. A new day will come. And when the sun shines, it will shine out the clear. Those were the stories that stayed with you. That meant something, even if you were too small to understand why. But I think, Mr. Frodo, I do understand. I know now. Folk in these stories had tons of chances to train back, only they didn't, because they were holding on to something." And Frodo says, "What are we holding on to, Sam?" And Sam said, "There's good in the world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for," I think that's what it says. Yeah, that is seriously the most amazing. I love that whole scene, and as I'm watching this and watching all this turmoil, I just remember just starting to cry, almost starting to cry, because it's like, that's how I felt this year. Is there worth living in this world? Is it ever going to be the same again? And the answer is no, it's not. To feel fear. Like, I had so much anxiety. I don't want to get political, but I have had tons of anxiety about, like, what's going to happen. But regardless, Jesus Christ is still our King, and there's some good in the world, and it's worth fighting for. And again, it's only a shadow. It's going to pass. Whether it passes because something new happens, or it passes because this whole life, is just a shadow. Whether we live 8 years, 80 years, or 108 years, it's still only a shadow compared to eternity. In the hymn Amazing Grace, when we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. And it's so easy, and like maybe that isn't what they're talking about here, but like the shadow, it's gonna pass. Yeah, we don't know. The world is never gonna be the same again. The world has changed forever. We don't know if our country will ever be the same again. We don't know. We don't know. But we do know that there is some good in the world. There are Christians that if we band together and fight, we can win. Well, Jesus has already won the war. And even again, if we die, like again, where somebody in here says, the Hobbit knows that this mission will take his life. We know there's a good chance this will take our lives, not COVID, but everything that's going on, everything that's coming. But regardless of that, we know what's coming on the other side of death. And that's Jesus. That's being in heaven, if we're Christians. So yeah, that was just a fantastic scene. And it was so mean, the cliffhanger they ended on. I can't wait to watch the third one. If I wasn't tired from last night, we didn't have church tomorrow, I'd be like, we gotta watch the next movie tonight. And I wouldn't ask that, but we'll hopefully get to watch it soon, because I really want to see it. I can't wait much longer to find out what's gonna happen. But yes, so yes, that is my thoughts on the Two Towers. It was absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to see the third one. I am looking to buy the movies because I want to be able to watch them again because they are totally awesome. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Alright, well, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye, guys.